Today we're going to have a quick, it'll be a quick entry-level presentation, just kind of communicate some background with QuadriSpace, some of the things that you can do with the software in general, a quick discussion of the products, and then we will jump right into a demonstration of the specific topic for today, which is illustrated parts lists from your 3D models. So we circled, basically today it's going to be mostly about creating printed documents. The illustrated parts lists in this case are going to be more of a printed document with a exploded view and a bill of materials display that matches your balloons in the exploded view. There's other ways for doing parts lists that can be interactive, where you can click parts lists, the items in a parts list, and they'll highlight in the 3D view and vice versa. That would be covered in a different webinar. Today we're going to focus keenly in on printed materials and how you would go through and create standard printed parts lists. Some of the other things that you can do with QuadriSpace software that we won't be talking about today is in general just making illustrations. This would just be graphical content or animations, and I mentioned the interactive documents. If you're looking at it from an industry perspective, QuadriSpace is very useful for creating everything from work instructions to technical data sheets, online catalogs, 3D PDF documents, presentations. Today, like we said, was going to be the illustrated parts list section down there. That actually falls into multiple categories. It's listed here under service and support, but clearly that can be a marketing item or a sales or a manufacturing item as well. Work instructions are often just created with illustrated parts list and a short description, things like that. We'll be focusing on the Pages 3D product. Pages 3D uniquely allows you to generate documents with embedded 3D content. This means that as a solution, you're able to create your document page, edit your document page, right there at the same time that you're working with your 3D. So there's no need to work with the 3D and then push it into Word or some other authoring tool. You're able to do multiple page documents right here. And there's a lot of power to that, and we'll go through some of those powers in the actual demonstration. But it really lets you leverage your 3D more capably. This webinar, what we're going to go over, illustrated parts. We're going to do some illustration creation. We're going to directly use a 3D model. In this case, it's going to be a SolidWorks model. We also support things like Pro-E or Inventor or DWF or SketchUp, Step, IGES, various other 3D formats can be imported. We're going to talk a little bit about balloons and how they match the parts lists. We're going to also work with parts lists and where they'll automatically display a parts list that matches a subset of parts. And you'll see that in the demonstration. We're going to do some page layout, and we're going to talk about how a template's created. We'll start from a template, and then at the end we'll talk about how we've created that. We will have a little discussion on exploded views. There's some exploded view webinars already out there. The work instruction goes into a lot more detail on exploded views than we will today. But we'll have to do a few here in order to do our illustrated parts list. We'll actually also talk a little bit about our updates and managing large projects, some of the best practices for that. And then at the end, what we're going to be able to do is produce a printed or a standard PDF. That means a non-interactive PDF document for distribution. Like I said before, you can do interactive 3D documents as well. This is just the webinar that's focused in on the printed side of things. And we're going to use Pages 3D for the authoring of these. I think we're about ready to go through a few things here. Some of the benefits of QuadriSpace, we have a very easy-to-use, ribbon-based user interface. Allows you, it's organized very well from 3D tools to page design tools, and we'll go over that a little bit at the beginning. We're affordably priced. We have a nice pricing model. And some of the specific benefits, with one application you can do it all. That goes back to the integration of a page design tool and 3D. We have automation capabilities. We usually call those smart template technology. That means that you can take things like an exploded view or a parts list and automatically generate graphics from that. And with pages, you can automatically lay out various views on a page using that smart template technology. So you get a lot of automation out of that. There's large project management, so there's capabilities with regards to configurations that allow you to work with subsets of parts throughout your project. Very powerful for working with larger models. And then document updates with 3D design changes. So when your design and 3D changes, you're able to go through and update an entire document with a single command. And this is kind of just a relay of the same things there. Update tools, large project management, automation with the smart template technology. There's a graphic here kind of showing how the smart template technology works. This example is from an exploded view where you have various steps in your exploded view. You push that through your smart template technology using this as the viewpoint template, and out pops all these different step-by-step processes in this case. Now, we won't be doing that. In this case, that's an example. The more relevant one for this one might be to take a bill of materials over on this side and push that through and generate isolated views of each of your parts on various pages. And then a big one, integrated 3D and page design. That means that you don't have to use multiple programs in order to get a final document as a result. Most of the competitors out there, in fact, I'd say almost all, would require that you use Word or InDesign or some other page design tool in order to actually get from a 3D model to a final document. Whereas with Pages 3D, you can do it all with one single product. That means you only have to learn a single product, you only have to have IT install a single product, you only have to pay for a single product, and you only have to maintain one product. So it's very helpful across the board as far as financially and from a user standpoint. Okay, so getting into the demo, the Pages Professional is what we're going to demonstrate today. This product allows us to author complete documents using the 3D and the metadata associated with those. We've talked about the patented approach that integrates both the page design with the 3D. And we're going to publish these documents today as printed outputs with the high-resolution imagery. So that's pretty much where we're headed here. So along the way, I'm going to switch over to actually to Pages right now, and hopefully you guys can see this and everything. But along the way, we're going to I'm just going to continue through, and if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in to your question box as you go through, and at the end we'll have a question and answer session where I can provide some specific details to maybe what your project is looking for or something. So, well, let's get started. As you can see, this is Pages 3D. This is the startup screen that you'll have. That's the quick start dialog there. And what I've done is just a tiny bit of preparation before this one. I went and modified one of our stock templates to create something that's a little more relevant for what my fictional company here will be, ABC Company. So we're going to do a new from template. And this will bring up our template choices. If you've noticed the stock top here, we have a whole list of different types of templates. These come with the product, and they make a great way to start your documentation, or you can take these and tweak these, and that's what I've done. So I'm down in my custom area here. I have now an illustrated parts list that I put together based on a previous template that's specific to my fictional company, ABC Company here. And if you notice here, I have two different pages that we're going to use for our parts list creation. Have kind of a cover page here, which will have our entire part show up on, and then we're going to use this one over and over for different configurations for different subsets of parts. So let's pick this template, and we'll just hit. I'm actually going to go and just use this page only, so we don't have to delete the other pages. We're going to insert those in a minute. So we'll next, and then we're going to browse. And let's see. Let's go back to my demo model for the day. Work instructions. Nope, that's the old demo. Parts list. Okay, so we have a miter saw, and this is just a solid assembly, as you can see here. If you look through the different supported types, there's quite a few here, from Rhino to Inventor to Pro Engineer. This is SolidWorks or SketchUp, iJustStep. Variety of different parts allowing you to bring in different tools. Support for things like Solid Edge and CATIA and Unigraphics would be through a STEP or an iJust file. STEP is quite often the more reasonable one there. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin this import. What's going to happen now is that this model is going to be imported, and it's going to be inserted into the template that we chose. And since I chose first page only, I checked that little checkbox for the first page, then what we're going to get is a template that only has one page, and I'll show you how to get to the other ones here. Okay, so there it is, inserted into this first page of my document. Right off the bat, I can use my mouse. I'm using the right mouse to zoom in and out. I can use my left mouse to object, position it the way I want to. The middle mouse will pan. That's kind of your behavior. There's other, using this viewpoint panel here, you can choose and select different ways of manipulating the 3D scene. The other templates, there was one other template page. If I look down through this new page, if I wanted to insert a new page, you can see here is that other part of this document that we're going to be using in just a minute. And if I click that, we can insert that page. We'll do that in just a second. Some other things you can do, just if you're not familiar with QuadriSpace, I can go to this Edit Page mode right off my home ribbon, and I could tweak this out. If I don't, if I want to add a text box, or obviously I might want to edit this text in here, so the general instructions might be to review this parts list, and then submit for approval or something. I don't know. But the point here is that you can use the text just by typing it right into the document page without having to bounce between different tools. The logo down here, this is just an image. You can reposition it, resize it however you want on your document page. And then the same with the 3D views. If I click the 3D view, you'll notice I get little handles, and I can position this just like I would an image or something in PowerPoint. And then I can turn Edit Page back off, and that again puts me back into the mode where I can manipulate the 3D information or the 3D views on my document. Okay, so one of the first things we want to do in preparing for setting up for doing our parts list, if you notice, this is a pretty, I mean, it's an averagely complicated model. It's not as large as what many people are working with, but what it does is it provides enough there that we're going to need to do something to manage it. I mean, it would be really difficult to go through and take this entire model, create an exploded view for every part in one scene, and expect anybody to understand that. So the strategy, one of the best practices for working with QuadriSpace, is to chop back your large model into various configurations. A configuration is a subset of parts. That is, one configuration may have certain parts that you want in one of your parts lists or your illustrated parts list pages, and then another configuration would have a different set of parts, and you might have as many as it takes in order to properly illustrate and document this product. I'm going to kind of take a little shortcut on creation of the configurations. Configurations can be completely custom. They're arbitrary for the different parts. What I'm going to do is, if you look at the model tree here, you'll go through and you'll see these sub-assemblies. I'm going to use the one functionality we have that allows you to, this is from the project panel. You can bring that up with this little button here, extended properties dialog. And under configurations, if you notice I open up master, I don't have any sub-configs, so I'm going to just right-click this. I'm going to make new dependent configuration. You can do it from selected or visible. I'm actually going to do it from subassembly, and I'm going to just let a batch process create a configuration for every grouping under this subassembly. So I'm going to say all subassemblies. So that created 10 configurations for me. And now if I look back in my configuration folder, you'll see that I have all these different configurations available for working from on my documentation. This will make it a little easier for me. I can inspect these I can drag this onto my view, and we can just take a quick look at what the base configuration is. And same with any of the others. We can drag the table over here, and it'll just show us that in the view, the fence. And we can kind of get an idea of what we're going to need to do for our documentation at this point. Now, since this is a printed manual, we're going to need to know that we're going to have this information on various different pages. So dragging it here is just kind of more of an exploratory thing. Once you have these out here, we can explore. So I'm going to go back to the master one, because on my cover page, I want to show the entire product. And so there's what we're going to be working on. Now, another handy trick is once you have your configuration set up, like I said, that's a quick way of doing it with the sub-assemblies. You can also go and add parts back in or remove parts by suppressing them. That's a topic for a different webinar. You can do that from this configuration ribbon. I'll just show you real quick. But you have these suppress tools: suppress hidden, suppress tool, suppress selection. And then you have the opposite of bringing them back, unsuppress using the tree. Okay, so the next part of my demonstration today is we're going to quickly lay out each one of those configurations into a working page, and then we'll go back on some few of those pages and modify those pages to include an exploded view, maybe tweak out the bill of materials on a different page. I'm just going to show some of the different things that people actually go through there and need to do, and I just want to show how easy it is. Putting multiple views on a single page is another one of those. Okay, so now that we have our 10 or so configurations, we can just do a new page, and we'll go pick that template, and this one's the one that we want to use for specific configurations. We're going to customize that, and we're just going to do this over and over. We're going to pick base 1 as the configuration, and when I hit finish, it's going to insert that, and then let's spend a second here looking at this one page. You'll notice we have a view of that configuration isolated. We have a parts list that only is giving us the list of parts in this product. So it's very easy to manage your parts lists and the visual of the parts on the page as well. So if I go through and I hit the next one, and I insert another page, and we customize this, and we based it on a different configuration. First one was on base. This one's going to be on table. And we'll insert that. And you'll notice we get a whole different, this is a much more complicated subassembly or configuration, and we get a whole different table showing 43 items in here that are going to end up exploded out. And let's just go through and let's insert maybe all of these, maybe we'll just do 4 or 5 of them. Table, pedestal, the next one, finish. And you can notice over here we're building up a document. We now have multiple pages over here. If I go back to the front, you would see the cover page followed by the different configurations, each one assigned to a page now. So we'll just do, you can always adjust the view. You saw how that one was a little off. I can pull back there easily with my mouse. Let's just do one more, and then we'll go back and tweak out a few of these pages with show some of what some real people do there. Okay. All right, so we've now added most of our configurations, and they've been on different pages. And so if I go click back through, I'll do this slowly because you may have, it's on the internet, so there's potentially update delays between the page changes here. And then we're going to go back, and as the next step, we're going to create an exploded view, and we're going to really mock this page up. So, okay, here's our cover sheet, and you can notice looking at the scroll bar that we have our multiple pages. So we're now ready to work on this configuration page. And to do this, I think I'm going to, first thing, a lot of the parts that are here are visible better from the bottom. So let's use, we have this viewpoint. I'm going to bring up the viewpoint panel, which gives us more control. And I'm going to go and look at it from the bottom with an isometric 30. The axonometric, there's a bunch of different axonometric views. These are all industry standards. such as isometric, dimetrics of different kinds, and trimetrics of different kinds. We'll just go with the standard isometric, and we'll take a look at it from the bottom here. Another thing we can do quickly is explore exactly what parts are in here. So I'm going to the model tree. You can see the model panel here, and by default it'll be in assembly tree mode. I'm going to actually switch over to our parts list. And you can see here that the parts that we're going to be working on for exploding in this scene are going to be based on these. So I can click them, and I can get a selection of them in the view here. So I can start to get a feel for what I need to work on here and what I'm going to explode. We can also use this tree during the explode. Okay. So deselect. So let's make our first exploded view. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit because we're going to need some room to get these guys off. And from the model ribbon, we can go and we're going to create a new exploded view. Take the default name because we don't really care at this point. And we're just going to click the part we want to move. And we move that out a certain distance. We're actually going to use the properties panel here to move it out an exact distance, 0.6. We got to make room for those rods. So let's pull that out 0.6. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. I can select it from the tree over here instead because I didn't have a good path to it. And then we'll go and move it out 0.6. And let's take the rods on this side, move them out. We're going to go 0.4 on this side. And in the hardware, you saw there was little clips and everything shown in this scene. The hardware is a little more difficult to select at this point, so I'm just going to use the tree over here, the bill of materials, to select it. So there's those pins, and then those are the rods, and then those. And we'll just pull those down, get those where we have a nice visual of them. And the last thing I want to do on this scene, I'm going to close it out because my exploded view is complete at this point. And we're going to add our trails in. Probably we should have saved off our template with trails on because that's what we really want. And before we inserted all those pages, but that's no big deal. We'll turn on the trails there, and we now have a exploded view with trails. Each of the parts that moves here is based on this parts list, and the parts list was automatically created from the configuration. It's editable as well, so if you have non-part items, you can go and add those in. For example, glue or something, or some wiring harness or something that may not be in your CAD model. You can add those back into the bill of materials very easily. We'll do that on another page of the document here. Let's just go to the next step of this page. We want to add balloons. We go to Illustrate here. There's a couple ways to do that. First, in order to add balloons, we have to create an illustration. So we're going to hit New. We don't care about the name, and we're just going to edit the markups now, which is where we will add balloons. And we'll hit OK. And what will happen is this will put us into a mode where we have an orange box around the view. The orange box indicates that we're editing that viewpoint, and then when we hit Done, it will capture the changes that we make. In this case, what we want to do is add these callouts. You could do these manually. I'm going to show you the manual process. You just click the tool, you click on the parts you want to call out for, and you drag it out. And you'll notice that our part number matches the base. Base 4 is part number 1. So these are going to match up. Now another way to do this, and this works with smaller sets of parts. It can kind of get messy with very large sets of parts in a single scene. But there's some tools for automatically creating from Visible. So we can auto-create some balloons here, and then we can just simply take these and reposition them. Let's see. That works somewhat, and then we'll take a couple like this one, move it over here, and maybe move that one in. You also, if you don't like, maybe that this is pointing to the middle, I can right-click this one. Let's see, I missed. Right-click and reposition the leader, which allows me to click on the edge or something like that. So that's how you would basically balloon different objects. Now that we have the ballooning done, I can just hit done, and we can kind of inspect this here. What you'll notice, and it's really easy to notice and verify, is like the bill of materials on this page now matches our ballooning thing here. And this page is, for all reasons, this could be a ready-to-go page with documenting those components. Now, if you wanted to add some notes or anything to this page that's a little off from the template itself, you could easily go to your insert ribbon here, insert a text box, drag it out wherever is convenient for this specific page, and then move on. So, yes, it's a template based. It gives you a nice, consistent look throughout a document, but you're not bound to that template, and you're not limited to staying with only in the confines of what the template is. There's a lot of times you want to add an image or text to your parts list, and this allows you to do that within. That's one of another benefit of working with 3D in a page design environment at the same time. Okay, so that's the process that someone would use for pretty much every page of their illustrated parts lists and catalog, is to take that, modify the scene, create the exploded views, and then there you are. I'm going to go into a couple different cases that I've seen customers do, and we'll do those on the next couple pages. On the next page, I'm not going to make an exploded view here, but what I would like to point out is the ability to create a couple different viewpoints, maybe a zoomed-in view, for example, of this one. So let's take this and let's go to our viewpoint ribbon. Let's go ahead and look at it from underneath like we did the other, because I think that's where all the parts are on this one. But if you notice, it's also there is a lot of parts. And maybe a lot of the work is going to be done in this area, but you also want to show the overall view here. One of the easiest ways to do this is I double-clicked it, which sent me back to this edit page mode. So what we might want to do at this point is we're going to resize this one just a little, make room for a second view down here. And then I'm just going to copy it, and we'll paste it. And this will give me a second view, starting it exactly the same way the first one was, but we're going to modify this second view a little here. So got a little bit of room down here. Let's use it. And on this one, we don't necessarily have the same views. We're just going to zoom in and really highlight this part of the model down here. And you might want to actually show what's going to be highlighted down here, so we could use markups on this one. So we'll just go to Illustrate, New, Capture an Illustration right here. And I'll put an orange box around the one we're actually editing. And I'm just going to take a shape of a box, and we'll just drag out a box in this vicinity here to show them what's going to be in the zoom view. And obviously we don't want it to be a big old black box, so we're going to disable the fill side of that and maybe turn our weight up one. So, and that shows them that this is going to be highlighted more strongly down here. And we'll hit Done. We'll capture that view with the markup and everything. You could have made that red or whatever color you wanted, maybe to highlight that better. But that shows how you can do a zoom view on the same page. Now, another multiple view page that I've seen a lot is a page that has different viewpoints of the same model. So maybe we can go do that on the next page. So maybe on this page we want to have a front left, top right, a front, top right kind of viewpoint with maybe an axometric as well. So let's do that. We're just going to make this about the right size, put it up in the corner here. And then I'm going to copy this 3 times. I'm just going to use Control-C, Control-V, V. And that'll give us 3 views. And then we'll go and modify each of these. First, we position them on the page. And then we'll take and do the kind of go back into the edit page mode, and I'm just going to do a real simple thing here. Go to my viewpoint, And we'll take a front view of this one, position it, and we'll go here and take that view, and maybe here, top view. And you can set up that kind of a look very easily by copying and pasting the views. Now, if you want this look all the time for every part, or you want this into your template selection, you can always go and add that to your templates. You can save this off as its own template, or you can do a quick one where you just save off this one page as a template that can be reused very generally at any time. So you can just save off that page as a template. And then if I insert it with a configuration, it will create these 4 views for me automatically. And that's another thing that I see people doing quite often. And let's do one last page, and I just want to talk a little bit about, let's go on to the next page here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about modifying the bill of materials. So by default, this gave us this bill of materials, and if I go to the tree here and look at the master parts list, I can click through it, and it'll show me here what we're talking about, just to get an idea of the parts that we're going to be working with in this scene. So maybe maybe we need some extra elements in this thing, or maybe we want to change the naming to these to where they're more user friendly. So upper fence, lower fence. Maybe these are more engineering terms, and we need to put together some terms that someone on a shop floor or someone externally in the parts ordering department or something might be able to understand. You can easily do that from here. I can right-click, rename this row. Lower fence is a pretty straight-up name, but maybe it's called a lower component or something. I don't know. But you can change those, and when I hit OK, you'll notice not only does this change in the parts list displayed over here in the user interface, but the document page gets to change here too. So in the table, this element is changing as well. Adding another row, like maybe we have glue needed for some step in the process or something, we could use right-click and we can add a row. And you can see by default comes up with just custom entry. And just like we renamed the other one, we can go rename this row and say glue. This is a non-part item. And then we say, okay, our change of the text will end up over here. Now, there's a whole bill of materials editor that you could use, and that would allow you to go in here and modify the auto numbers, add different rows or different columns to the table very easily. And that's found under the model. Again, that's another topic in all of itself. You can go into the editing of the parts lists, and it'll bring up an entire Excel spreadsheet-looking editor for making complete changes to that parts list. So that covers, it's a good timing, that covers a lot of what people actually do with their illustrated parts lists. Some of the things that, this is a very simple template. A lot of times you'll see templates, depending on whether you're in the manufacturing side or on the sales side, but a lot of times you'll see templates that have a very engineering drawing look with tables and headers and that method with A4 formatting and those kind of things. There's templates built in to do that. If you look into the new template wizard, you'll see something like that, and you can modify from there. You also, I took, how we created this template was I took one of the stock templates and tweaked it, and to put a little more emphasis on the parts list. I think this one was a little more emphasis on procedures and everything when I started, and that gives you a good template. In our work instructions webinar, it's pre-recorded, it's available online. That one goes through a little bit on template creation. I was going to do a little template creation here today, but I think that I'm going to leave that for its own webinar because that can take a good amount of time for describing the details of that, and I don't want to just do a half version of that given the amount of time left. And I think that that mostly concludes the demonstration for today. I'm going to go through, and now's a good time to go, if you have some questions in general to ask, now's a good time to add those, and I'm going to go through and address some of the questions that I've received so far, and then we'll go from there. I have a little bit of a closing presentation that that covers a few more things, and then we'll do a wrap on this webinar. Okay, so Q&A. Let's see. One of them is compatibility, native compatibility with Solid Edge. We don't have Solid Edge compatibility. The other part of your question is SolidWorks. Obviously, SolidWorks. There's various versions of SolidWorks. We've been supporting SolidWorks since like 2003, and we support back there, I think maybe 2001 before that as well. And we are we rapidly are supporting any of the new versions of SolidWorks. As far as Inventor goes too, we're an Inventor partner, and we support Inventor formats before the release of a new Inventor, and we become authorized for that prior to the release of the latest Inventor. SolidWorks were a little behind by a month or so on the SolidWorks support. Pro-E is right in line with the release and everything too as well. That addresses the other one. I have a question on which version of SolidWorks. Pretty much anything from 2001 on, maybe before that, I'm not sure, but I think that covers most people's needs. What about a scale and a legend? I'm not sure on that question. I'm gonna get back with you offline on that and talk about that one. In SketchUp, okay, in SketchUp, how would subassemblies be established and the respective names, though through components or groups or through layers? Okay, so using a SolidWorks model and some of the solid-based models, you do get some benefits of a quick and easy way of taking a subassembly, for example, and generating the configurations from that. I suppose that's what you're in reference to on this question. In SketchUp, there's a little less hierarchy built into the 3D design. So in a SketchUp model, there are different components and there's different layers that can be used, and you can manually group those into your own configurations as defined by you. A lot of times that's what most people will do anyway, is select a set of parts and then create a configuration from that selected set, or hide and show down to just the parts they want to work with and then create their own custom configuration from it. What I showed today was just a quick and easy way to generate configurations. It's not necessarily the only way. In fact, it's probably not the most popular way to do that. Okay, another question. Does Pages 3D recognize SketchUp's component axis or just the model axis? I'll have to get back on that one. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. Are there any format options for the call-out error lines to add a white shaded or halo? This makes it easier to follow lines as it crosses the graphic. Yes, the markup tools. If I jump back into here real quick, I'll just I'll make a new illustration and I'll just show a little bit here real quick. So if we added a call-out and we just pull that off, if we go over to properties here, there's different, enable the line. You can do a circle or square, rectangle. This is what is bordering around it. A shadow. You can do different line weights. And on the leader, there's different arrows. Let's go ahead and make it big and the leader big, I guess, and so we can see what we're changing here. But there's different styles: left arrow, right arrow, open, hollow, short, slash. So there's a variety of different graphics that you can use in order to set up the scene the way you want. I do see, okay, I see on the one the white shadow or the halo. I'm not sure if that's something that can be set up very easily. I'll have to look into that one for you as well. SpaceClaim integration question. We are looking into integration with SpaceClaim. I don't know much more as far as date goes and those kind of things, but definitely that's something that's on our roadmap. Memory, how much memory will Pages 3D need to work with big 3D assemblies? Always I guess a question that comes up, and it's one of the things, there's a number of things that you can do to make it much better for you. One is to have a nice computer with a good graphics card, a workstation that's made for engineering with 3D CAD or something like that. It really helps with the large models. Also, a 64-bit allows the use of more memory, which means for big models there's a lot of memory needed, and that'll open up that memory for the use of the larger models. And then we also have configurations is a great tool for working with large models. It allows you to chop down to those subsets and work with them, and you don't have the high overhead of all the large models hanging around all the time when you're working with the configurations. But yet, you have the convenience of the single file that you can always go pull up any of the parts that you need from the model and leverage those. Let's see. I have some questions on costs, and I will get back with you on those. And then also some questions on comparison, and I can provide information for those as well. And I will get back with you online for all of that information. Let's see. And I think that's most of the questions I got here. I'm going to flip back over to my presentation now, and we'll close it up. Okay, this is just a general chart showing a wide range of different capabilities in there. We went over some of the 3D tools, but definitely not all of them. There's material editing, there's different render styles. I guess if you haven't seen any of our other videos or webinars, you may not realize you're not limited to just the line drawing style. You can do the old shaded with edges. In fact, the render style is very customizable. You can set how thick your lines are. You can determine if you want shiny objects or not shiny objects, for example. But this one was focused on printed manuals, mostly black and white, so we stuck with that. Exploded view, like I said before, there's a lot of exploded view tools. We just went over the very baseline of the exploded view tools in this demo. Sectioning 3D tools, a lot of times those are needed. They're available. Anyway, I'm not going to go over this whole list. I just wanted to point out that there's a lot of things that we didn't cover in this video, and if you have questions, fire them off to me, and I'll be happy to answer. There's also a trial available online. I imagine we're about to talk about that. Here's a little bit of a comparison on competitors. I had some questions on that. Pages 3D is quite unique over here. That's the one we talked about today. It's circled, in that it combines the 3D with the page design, so you really have a unique experience there, and that allows you to do things like the ability to lay out that configuration on a page and just toss a bunch of pages together and then edit the page kind of right to create what your user would experience, your recipient of your document would actually experience. When you go back to our other product, Publisher 3D, it's more in the comparison line with some of the direct competitors that you see mentioned. Where you'll find differences is on the price point. We're typically quite a bit less costly, and on we definitely compete strongly on feature set and on ability to work with larger projects and everything. So some of the things that you'll find unique on our Publisher product would be the Smart Template technology. That's the ability to automatically take a structure such as a parts list or a bill of materials and generate a set of graphics, a starting point for yourself, instead of having to do everything manually. Okay, well, I'm going to close up the webinar today. I appreciate everybody attending. Online, there's a 15-day trial of the software. You can find that at QuadriSpace.com. Go into the Document 3D side of the web page. That's the side with all the professional tools. And then there's additional resources. There's other pre-recorded webinars available. There's specifically a work instruction webinar that we did last month that's available online. There's online FAQ and support. And hope to see you guys at the next webinars. We'll have another one in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Probably the next one will be on quick 3D PDF communications, but we may do the technical illustrations one first. I'm not sure yet. But there'll be more information on that in the next few days. And then for any questions you have, please contact me, sales@QuadriSpace.com, or you can actually contact Brian at QuadriSpace.com if you want to contact me directly. and I'll answer any questions you might have following this demo here. And this webinar will be available online shortly so that you can share it with anybody else that needs to take a look. All right, thanks everybody, and I appreciate your time, and hope to hear more from you. Thank you very much.